Welcome to Labor Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Abrantes, Assistant Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, the Carpenters Union.
And I'm Cyndie Williams, Executive Director of the CCT. Together as your co-hosts, we'll explore the world of organized labor, bringing you behind-the-scenes stories and insights from inspiring union leaders, dedicated partners, and community change makers. In each episode, we dive into authentic conversation to uncover what unions are really about beyond the headlines and the myths.
Whether you're new to the movement or a union ally, our conversation, showcasing diverse voices and real-life stories, will explore union hurdles, triumphs, labor's rich history, its role in workforce development, all while shedding light on how unions create lasting change and foster economic growth and creating generational wealth.
Join us as we build a broader coalition, elevate future generations, and showcase how unions contribute to creating a positive cultural legacy.
Tune in, get informed, and find out how organized labor is making a difference. Today we are joined by Governor Phil Murphy. Since taking office, Governor Murphy has built a strong and enduring partnership with labor and unions across New Jersey, championing workplace protections, expanding apprenticeship training opportunities, and strengthening collective bargaining rights. His tenure has been defined by a clear focus on putting working families at the center of the state's progress. Today we reflect on the legacy, explore what those efforts have meant to union members in New Jersey, its economy, and look ahead to what's coming next as his time expires in office. Good afternoon, Governor, and welcome to Labor Lounge Podcast.
Thank you guys for having me. Anthony, great introduction, and great to be with you both, and thrilled to talk about a lot of what we've done together.
Absolutely, and it was great seeing you this week at that pivotal bill signing for ensuring that young folks in New Jersey at least get a sense of who sacrificed for what we have to have now in terms of labor rights, and we greatly appreciate you signing that bill.
Yeah, so there were two pieces of that, and one of your fellow labor leaders said it was their most memorable day in labor leadership. One was to make sure that the whole story of labor, the labor movement, is taught in our public school curriculum. And then the second one, which I think has more immediate effect, is the so-called captive audience bill, that employers can't force you into a conference room somewhere and try to indoctrinate you on labor movement realities, labor formation realities that are inconsistent with how we all see them. We had a bill that's been on the books, but it wasn't specific enough, so we felt like we had to really drill in on labor union formation, and we got it done. I'm thrilled that I was able to sign both of those bills.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate that, Governor. From a perspective of a labor management school attendee in college, it created my passion for union, but also just thinking about young people and their understanding of how we have formed to create the 8-hour workday is an incredible driver to people's sensitivity and understanding about workforce in general and how pivotal unions were in playing a role in that. So appreciate you for that.
It's a great point. And one last interesting point. Every Labor Day Friday, I go down to Collingswood and then Pennsauken in South Jersey and celebrate the life and legacy of Peter J. McGuire, who was deemed by many to be the father of Labor Day. And it's that's a good example of a historical figure and context that young folks need to know about.
Perfect. Thanks for the segue.
And Governor, just so you know, he is the founder of the Carpenters Union, and he's actually right over Cyndie's left shoulder behind her head on the wall.
Hold on, let me get out of the way.
Oh, there he is. I see him.
Oh, wait.
I go say a prayer at his grave when our ceremony is over. And, of course, the headstone has got the Carpenters logo on it, and it's pretty special.
Yep. Thank you.
Perfect. Your administration has often described organized labor as a partner in progress. I'm just curious, in your moment working with unions, be it healthcare, education, construction, maybe you can talk about a key policy or outcome that you consider as part of your legacy in your term.
It's a good question. I mean, let's start with the bad news. When we got into office almost 8 years ago, we inherited a state and a previous administration that was, I think, on a good day, inconsistent in its relationship with labor, its view of the importance of labor. So we had to we had to throw a lot of stuff on the wall, as it were, right? So there were so many different areas that were wanting that we tackled a lot of them simultaneously. So raising the minimum wage, earned sick leave, misclassification protections, project labor agreements with any project that had state money involved, making a full pension payment, like folks getting unemployment benefits if they're on strike, workplace protections more generally. Just the list is long. And I don't want to say one is more important than the other, but I will say this, that we wouldn't be where we are today unless we did all of it, including the bills we were talking about a minute ago that we signed this week. So this is still we're still a happening administration. This is a work in progress. We're still checking off boxes as we sprint through the tape over the next several months. But I'd say that the word I would use is comprehensive pro-labor agenda. Those are the words that I think capture what we've done.
Yeah, Governor, and I couldn't agree more. I was actually on a phone call earlier today talking about your accomplishments with some of my colleagues, even on the other side of the aisle. And the reality is, even in their eyes, you've been the best governor for organized labor in the state of New Jersey as far as anyone can remember. I mean, we're going back to the initial bills when you first came into office, when we did misclassification. You did expanding project labor agreements, expanding prevailing wage, the right to bargain. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I guess for us, being that you're a short termer now, I guess what do you see labor's role is in shaping New Jersey moving forward as you transition out of office, and what that relation looks like with whoever the next governor is?
Yeah, it's a great question, Anthony, and to some extent, it's anyone's guess, but stay at the table. That's the most important thing I could say. I don't hear this. I'm not going to get political because that's not the purpose of this. But I know Mikey's agenda and what she stands for more deeply than I know Jack's. Mm-hmm. But I don't think either of them are going to come in with their hair on fire as it relates to worker protection, unions generally, labor's ability to have a seat at the table. Anthony, as you rightfully pointed out, a lot of what we've done has gotten bipartisan support in terms of the labor agenda. And so therefore, I would hope that regardless of who's elected, I know who I want, but regardless of who's elected, I think you're going to I believe you'll have a reasonable partner. And my strong advice is to stay at the table. Because while we've made a lot of progress, I think would all three of us agree, there's still work to be done here, particularly with a very volatile national scene right now. There's still work to do. So I'd say stay at the table. God willing, you'll be welcomed at that table. And together with future administrations, you can find at least some semblance of the common ground that we've been able to find since day one.
Yeah, and I think the reason we can be confident, and regardless of who comes into office, because of the groundwork that you've laid down, and you made it a pretty big table for us to leave. So I'm pretty confident we'll be staying at that table regardless of who's there. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
I couldn't agree more. Just working with your legislative body has been wonderful over the last 8 years, and we're really open-minded to hear our concerns if there are any, and we certainly appreciate you for that. As you reflect on your time in office, what do you consider your most significant achievement in strengthening organized labor and protecting workers' rights in general?
I'm not sure there's one. Making a full pension payment 5 years in a row, which totals up to about $36 billion in those 5 years, $47.2 billion in our time in office. I think if you're a public sector employee, that's got to be at or near the top of the list. I can't see how it wouldn't be. I think if you're in the trades, I think it's going to be a combination of worker and workforce protection steps, being very tough on misclassification. Remember early conversation Billy Mullen and I had, and Bill made the point, particularly with Rob Angelo as our labor commissioner, a guy people know. There was never any doubt. They knew Rob. They knew what he stood for. But Bill's point to me was, you need more than the Department of Labor. You need the Attorney General. You need the Treasurer. And I think one of the things I'm proud of on the misclass and derelict contractor front is that we've worked with a whole of government approach. So I'd say if you're in the trades, it's going to be some combination of things in that lane. But the indirect answer would be, I think now 6 straight years of all-time record investment in infrastructure. 8 years in a row, all-time record funding of public education. Huge investments in film, television, digital. My point being, there's the direct labor stuff, but there's also the indirect, both job creation, but work on the, money on the street that creates big projects, highway work, you name it, that have been at record levels. And I think that's going to be part of the story when folks look back.
Yeah, and I know we're not talking about politics, but this. I mean, the reality is politics without good policy is pointless at the end of the day. And I think under your administration, we've had nothing but good policy. And to your point, you could be a great labor supporter, but if we don't have something driving that economic engine that actually creates the jobs, people are going to be sitting at home. And you've done a great job of bringing balance to both, which we talk about all the time. We could be successful at attracting businesses to the state of New Jersey, and we can be successful at creating middle-class jobs, and you've been great at doing both of those and balancing that out. So we really appreciate that.
But not only that, but also having the boots on the ground. His team has implemented the task force and certain investigators that are helping to monitor these job sites to make sure.
It's a good example, though our work is not done. I still get frustrated and angry beyond words. Anthony, you and Bill Sproul in this case have been champions in terms of coming to us and saying this site, that site. So we've made a lot of progress, but our work is not done, as they say.
Yeah, and you've changed the culture. Legislation's good, but you've changed the culture of how businesses should operate in this state. And I think you've proactively addressed some of the concerns we've had, which has been great because it's by default have created union jobs. And I guess we could end with this because this is talking about the future. Future members, folks coming into the state of New Jersey, the future workforce, when they look back at this administration, who they might not have been privy enough to work under, what are you hoping that their thought process is and their legacy is when they say, the Murphy administration created these opportunities for us? What do you want them to say?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we haven't talked about apprenticeships, and I think we would be remiss not to highlight that because by definition, those are not entirely, but more likely than not, younger folks who are coming into the workforce for the first time. So perhaps as we sit here in September of 2025, they may not have yet felt a lot of the agenda items that we've been talking about in this discussion, but they will feel it. And I'm particularly proud, and you guys, the carpenters, have been off the charts at this, but I'm particularly proud of the comprehensive, is the word I would use, apprenticeship programs and approach that we've had. So that's certainly one big one. And I'd say secondly, it's funny, I'll take minimum wage as an example. For whatever reason, it was really hard to get that done. And no one reason, I think, but it was hard to get it done. But we got it done. But in the moment, the discussion is all around hey, do we carve this out? How many years will it take to get to $15? What's the accelerator after it gets to $15? Should we base it on CPI? So you're a lot of the in the moment discussion is about building the plane. We haven't had those discussions in 5 years.
Yep.
The next generation is just going to inherit a state with by American standards, a very high minimum wage that's going to go up every year. In other words, they'll live the reality that we spent a lot of time struggling to build. They'll have none of that on a minimum wage, or earn sick leave, or getting unemployment insurance if you strike, or the state of New Jersey will never put another dollar into a project that doesn't have a project labor agreement or doesn't adhere to prevailing wage. Those were fights, but those fights are over. The next generation and the generations to follow will live that reality, which I think will be really cool.
Yeah. And they might not know how it got where it got to, but we'll be there to make sure we remind them that it was your administration that, put all those things in place for them that they don't appreciate.
I appreciate that. That'll be part of the curriculum in schools, right?
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah, Governor, you've got some. They've got some big shoes to fill. So we certainly appreciate all your hard work over the last 8 years. And when you're leaving office in January, what's next for you? I'd love to hear that.
You guys are, first of all, I'm loving being in the labor lounge here. So please have me back at some point. No plans at the moment. I just had a birthday, and my wife gave me a couple of fun trips that we're going to go on, including leaving to go on a trip the night that I hang up my cleats. So earlier that day, I will hand the baton over, and then we're going to fly someplace fun. So a little bit of R&R, and then we're going to basically recharge the batteries and figure out what's next. And this has been the responsibility, the job, the dream of a lifetime the past 8 years, and there'll never be another one like it, but God willing, there'll be something out there that will be both fun and will be hopefully adding to the good of society. But I won't be making any rush judgments on that, I promise you.
Yeah. Well, everything you have coming to you is well deserved, and the one thing you can leave with is knowing that you had created generational change for a lot of people that don't even realize it yet. So thank you for your time, and thank you for everything you've done for the state of New Jersey and working people.
And thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
I love the labor lounge. I love the look of the labor lounge, and I'm very happy to hear that's Peter McGuire's portrait right behind you.
Yes. What do we got? Yep, perfect.
Thank you, Governor.
See you guys. Thanks for having me.